I'm honored to have a very interesting panel to moderate today again. So, we are moving into a very multidisciplinary panel. We have together with us science, technology, innovation, and business. We have together with us the people who are working in the field, together with the farmers, close to the farmers, understanding the need and trying to transform their needs into innovation. I will start by introducing Professor Astrida Miceikienė from the Vytautas Magnus University, the Dean of Faculty of Bioeconomy Development. We also have together with us Mr. Vidmantas Janulevičius, President of the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists, but also Chairman of the BOD Group, with investments in various sectors, including solar technology, ophthalmic lenses, and DVD manufacturing. Dr. George Beers from Wageningen University and Research, coordinator of flagship EU projects like IOF 2020, about the introduction of IoT in the farming sector, and SmartAgriHubs. We spoke before about the digital innovation hubs, a pan-European network of digital innovation hubs. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Augustas Alešiūnas, serial entrepreneur insisting to invest and to work for the agri-food sector for the past 10 years, despite the challenges and despite the difficulties. He has launched products not only in the Lithuanian and the Baltics market, but also in the global markets. And since that we are lacking time constantly, I would like to start by a question. I would actually like to ask you to have a traveling time. Let's go back to when your career was beginning. Let's go back when you started working in the sector. What technologies were at hype then? And I will start with Professor Miceikienė. Please, the floor is yours, and then we will continue.
Hello, everyone. I started to work in 20th century. Managers' case contribution in the 20th century was to increase a labor productivity of ordinary employees by 50%. Managers' greatest contribution in the 21st century, increase of such employees' knowledge. These processes lead to change in the educational process. Previously, the universities used to see the important task of preparing specialists in specialized competencies, such as agriculture engineers, agronomists, IT specialists. Today, as we are living in the digital IT era, it is important to embrace the new challenges. In light of the fourth industrial revolution, it has become imminent to discuss change in education, in particular in higher education. Digitalization of education is one of the ways to go hand in hand with the change. Universities need to prepare professionals for the future, such as IT specialists, engineers who can manage the latest technologies, agronomists who can manage agricultural production using digital technologies. Finally, managers who can implement the latest technologies in their operation. All these specialists and possible improvement of business competitiveness by applying more efficient digital system and other innovative technologies. It becomes possible to reduce the duration of operation and through high quality attract more consumers and enter new markets sooner. Industrial agriculture is transforming into a bioeconomy. There is a growing need for new business models, for new food products. Consumption needs are changing too. Finally, agribusiness becomes a modern digital business that creates high added value, and it's an important sector for economies of countries.
Thank you very much. Mr. Janulevičius, what was I'll put you now in the time capsule. How was the scene when you started?
Thank you very much. Thank you for possibility to be here today with you and to discuss about future issues of the agriculture and agri-food things. And I'm a little bit far away from agribusiness, agri-food. You know, I started 24 years ago with the production of the CDs, compact discs, DVDs, and Blu-ray. It's already around 25 years will be when we started this kind of business. And of course, 25 years ago, it was first factory in the Eastern Europe when we started to produce the CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. It's looks for me it was just yesterday, you know, but 25 years passed. And this technologies was very topic in our country. We just received independence. And we try to find our way. We have been young, ambitious, and try to implement the newest technologies in reality, in industry sector. That's been 25 years ago. We start with the CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. Later on, there's some knowledges about technology, especially we became, and my team of engineers became the specialist of evaporating, deposition, thin layer creation on the different surfaces. You know, the compact discs need to create some aluminum layer later on to get back informations from the CDs, DVDs. It gives us possibility slightly to move to solar business. We are the pioneers not only on the CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays in the Baltic and Eastern European region, because it was the first factory in Eastern Europe. Just the neighbors in Poland, they was half year earlier than we. But at the same time, already 12 years ago, we started to produce the first solar cells and solar panels in Europe, in Eastern Europe. Again, we have been the first. As I mentioned before, we are very close to the some technologies, which is the same for production of the compact discs and solar cell and solar panels. People think, well, this is two different businesses, but in reality, it's from 9 steps to produce the solar cell. 6 steps is mostly the same as to produce the compact discs. Why we slightly moved to the solar sector. And later on, of course, I could explain how the solar sector will be connected to the agri-food, to our future economy. Maybe for this time is enough.
Thank you very much. Dr. Your turn to end the time capsule.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me in this panel. Yeah, Grigoris, you make me feel real old now by this question, because I started my career in agricultural research in the early 1980s. So that's a long time ago. And at that moment, I was working in greenhouse research. And at that moment, there was an energy crisis. So the prices for energy were sky high. And all research was focusing on, let's say, the heating technology, how to heat the greenhouses with as little gas as needed. It was also the time when we got when there was a breakthrough in the CO2, the use of CO2. Now we have too much, but at that time it was noticed that for good crop development in greenhouses, you could add carbon as CO2. On the digital part, when I started, there was the feeling in the Netherlands that the agricultural sector was lagging behind in digitization. But be aware, it was the time when we didn't have internet. We worked with mainframe computers. And when we talked about PCs, it meant punching cards, you know, the cartons with the holes in it where the information was stored. So that was really the pioneering phase, and the focus at that time was on decision support system, how to provide farmers with information and do some calculation with sophisticated techniques. The problem that we were facing in those days were not the abundance of data, but the lack of data. And a lot of effort was in the research. We spent a lot of effort in that part. I also can mention that already at that time, and so we're talking 1985, we started projects on standards for data exchange. And I think that was really the starting. It was not yet a hype. It was a small, let's say, community was working on it. But these were the early days of digitization, I would say. Okay, thank you for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Alešiūnas, your turn. How was it when you started?
Thank you so much. Well, firstly, let me do a short break and just, I'd like to say thank you to all the panelists and to you, Grigoris. And unfortunately, this year, I cannot shake the hands to you physically, but really appreciate that you're coming here and sharing your insights. So thanks so much. And now, if to get back to your question, which is kind of really difficult because at the moment, by having more than 70 people in several countries and, having the technology such as AI and spectral data when we can fly above the field, scan the crop, identify the diseases inside the crop and check the authenticity of the food products, whether it's fake or authentical one, to get back 10, 12 years, for me, it's kind of even scary, I would say, because it looks like a kindergarten pretty much. But what I've done is within the first tracks of today's, of all the panelists, I counted how many times the term digital was mentioned. So in total, the statistic tells that it was 148 times when we used the term digital or to digitalize. And if I going back to the 2008, when I founded my first company at T21, there were no terms such as digital. We were talking about the software, the internet, and the first product what we launched in the market. And then at that time, it was 2 people company, so me and my colleague, no more. We wanted to digitalize, let's say in this way, what we're using at the moment, the agri industry, and we've done the software for the grain traders, buyers, those who has the silos and stores the grain. So the competition level at that time for us, it was this. We were competing with the papers and with the journals and with the notebooks. And the thing what we've done, and we revolutionized the market, is we made a simple software where people can track the data, put the inputs and keep them, and maybe sometimes even connect the scales to the system so the metrics from them would come directly there. Then if to move forward to 2010, 2012, there was term like a software as a service, which means that if you are saying that you are doing SaaS, you are kind of like, top of the top in a scale. So, those things now looks as a daily basis, casual life things, what we're using everywhere, starting from the Gmail, Google. Everything's in the browsers and the internet. But that time, it was something what was really difficult to put in the market. And we needed a lot of push to make the first digital steps. So this was the beginning. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Let's try to make a little bit more personalized question into one. Personally, I noticed your research is something very interesting. You are bridging finance with environmental sustainability and social innovation. And I would like to see a little bit, I know that you have done extensive research on the role of family farms. And now, how do you see technology as a driver for the family farms towards sustainability? And how do you see, would you advise the family farms in terms of adopting technologies and in terms of incorporating technologies in the inheritance of the farms, in incorporating young inheritance of the farms? What do you think, how this can be reached? I think you're on, please.
Yes, researchers of Agriculture Academy do research on the sustainability of modern family farms. New business models, innovative technologies in agriculture need to be implemented today, so that the challenges of the approaching period do not turn into a global social and political issue. Development of information technologies is particularly important for global development and economy in particular, as the human always seeks to satisfy the growing need in different areas, and information technologies expand the scope of these possibilities. Agribusiness is not exception as well. Family farms implementing new technologies in their operation may improve competitiveness considerably. More efficient digital systems and other innovative technologies may reduce the time of operation, assure higher quality, attract more consumers, and enable sooner entry into new markets and help to develop sustainable agriculture business. Young people are particularly interested in innovation. Therefore, the use of innovative technologies in agriculture will be of interest to young people as well. The processes of digitalization have already shaped completely new business models, such as e-commerce, online payment systems, online advertising, and have given rise to such business giants as Amazon, Uber, and PayPal. These processes are redefining agribusiness as well. New business models are interesting for young people. Finally, according to Forbes, the world's first crop was grown and harvested without human direct physical labor in 2017. This way is the future for agriculture and for young farmers.
Thank you very, very much. Mr. Janulevičius, you're coming from the energy sector, from the renewable energy, in fact. Would you see now the energy sector and the farming sector getting closer together? Do you believe that we can see farmers energy use? Do you believe that we can include particular technology? What take? How do you see things moving on?
Yes, thank you, Grigory, for the question. For sure, this is the future. Yeah, I think our colleague, Mr. George Biss, will agree with this as well. The solar energy, it will be the first directed energy, let's say, which is much more closer to the farmers than any other energy. Windmills, yes, of course, they could lend the ground for the windmills, but solar technology has two possibilities. Firstly, we are using electricity. Most of our consumption of electricity are during the daytime when there is a solar. Yeah, this is the one thing. Another thing, solar, it could be as a roof. Yeah, instead of regular roof, you could use the solar panels which we are producing, which could sustainably produce the energy in 50 years. Yeah, and they really could be not influenced by any ammonia or something which is some another fertilizers or from the different kind of animals, you know, some gases which really could destruct some and other things. That's mean at the same time you can produce the energy, you can have the rooftop, and you could use this energy for your own consumption and to have the green energy, you know. This is the future, and at the same time, let's say one of the first projects already 6 years ago was AgroSolar. AgroSolar is the same, the greenhouses. We built together with some German colleagues, research institute from Fraunhofer partners, we built the first big greenhouse in Malaysia. But this greenhouse was not to keep the warmest things, but to protect the chili peppers from intensive sun. That's mean at the same time we increase the efficiency of the chili peppers because they don't need direct sunlight. We are producing the panels, solar panels from the glass technology, which we can adjust to any plantation the quantity of UV rays, what they needed exactly. Yeah, that's mean it could be transformable solar panels, and to any agri plantation we can adjust the lightness, let's say, in general, and the rest we are converting to the electricity. And this was one of our first projects. Later on we sold this license to Malaysian government, and now they really implement. It was 1.5 megawatt solar farm or 12,000 square meters greenhouses which we covered with this new technology, and it's going now really in the very nice proper way, because this let's say solar energy was used especially to the special moisturizing. Yeah, if you reduce the concentration of the solar, that's mean you can reduce the concentration of the water to any plantations. You can save the planet, you can reduce these consumptions. And it was fully automated greenhouses. This is just one of an example. And I think in our Europe we have the same opportunities to do here. Why? Because of course the future economy, it's a green economy. The more to the future we need to have the more healthy food without any let's say chemical treatments, without any fertilizers used so much. That's mean of course the production and the cost will rise up. To reduce this cost, we need to use as much as possible the greenhouses to raise plantations inside our Europe. And this is coming the digitalization, the let's say new platforms which can calculate it for any renewable energy sources to use in optimal way. That means it's really a lot of different plenty of things when I see to the future. And bioeconomy, this is a new, let's say, trend which we are talking. A lot of waste, a lot of food we still have from agri sector. That means it could be transferable to the biogas, to the another different things. We need to use all the waste in proper way in energy, and it's 100%. The future farmer will be the energy producer. Maybe not only for himself, for their own consumptions, but at the same time he could export this energy to the grid and to receive additional money from that. To be green, this is our future. At the same time, to have the circular economy, that's mean to use the waste which will be from the agri sector. This is our future as well. And the digitalization, what talks Europe Commission and Mrs. von der Leyen always. Yeah, this is three things which will really increase efficiency of the agri sector. And if we are talking about Lithuania, I think agri sector, it's not separate from the industry. As I am at the moment the president of Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists, I see the agri sector with the really biggest potential in the next 10 years with the digitalization, with the green economy and circular economy to increase the GDP from existing 6-8% currently, yeah, from our all to 12-16% with this kind of three pillars.
Thank you very much. I will now pass to George Beers. You are privileged to have the bird's view. Being the coordinator of SmartAgriHubs and IOF 2020, you are able to see all around the ecosystems. And since you are based in Netherlands and in Wageningen, which is really the vanguard of digital transformation of the agri-food sector, I'm sure you've seen a lot. But now, do you believe that the network of digital innovation hubs can help us to discover the hidden gems, can help us to discover in places that we would not expect to find really important companies or really technologies that would take us into tomorrow? What do you think about that?
Okay, yeah. Thanks for these interesting questions, Grigoris. And I really feel privileged to have this bird's eye view, as you call it. Let me start with remarking that when you are looking more deep into the different European countries, you see that there are a lot of amazing initiatives, amazing developments, and very clever people working all over Europe. In every country, I see, let's say, very, very nice and very, very good solutions developed. The issue is that the picture is scattered. You really have to look for them. You really have to go there to see it. It seems that a lot of good initiatives are isolated, and maybe that's due to language issues, but also to let's say the funding schemes. There are a lot of initiatives funded by regional funds, and they don't have the, let's say, the urgency of exposing themselves at the European platform. So these are two mechanisms that make this picture quite scattered. Looking at the position of the Netherlands, I think what we try to do in the Netherlands is to bring the innovations and the digital solutions that we have available, to bring them and make them available for agricultural practices everywhere. And that there are two mechanisms behind that. First of all, I think the Netherlands is relatively a very we endorse the paradigm of, we call it open innovation. So be good and tell it and make it visible for the world. Don't hide it behind IPRs, or just expose what you are, what your innovations. And that's deep into the policy of the innovation policy in the Netherlands. The other thing that I want to mention is that the Netherlands is very internationally oriented. We are a very small country, but we have a very big abroad. And you can see that in different mechanisms coming up. Wageningen University, we have half of the students are non-Dutch, so they are coming from everywhere in the world. and we expose the students to our innovations. We make them familiar with them. So when they are graduated, they go and bring their knowledge and experience to the other countries. Another thing is that most of the tech providers in the Netherlands are international operating companies. So they also export a lot of, let's say, digital innovations to all over the world. So this is very important for us. It's very important to disseminate and to make the knowledge and the tools available all over the world for the big issue that we are all facing with, let's say, all agricultural sectors are facing the challenge of feeding the world in the near future. And I think it's important that, and it's also logic that Wageningen University started the initiative of building the SmartAgriHubs project, because we want to use all the knowledge and bring it together and make it available, and not only the innovations from the Netherlands, but all those, let's say, hidden treasures that are scattered all over Europe, make them visible and make them accessible for all innovative people in European agriculture. And I think that's where SmartAgriHubs is built upon, to that vision, to build upon its shoulders, to use the knowledge that is available instead of duplicating it at 20 places all over Europe. So it's making the knowledge and the experiences available and accessible. I think that's key for the digital transformation in Europe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, Augustas, you started long ago, you launched products in global markets, and now the question is the following. We very often hear from entrepreneurs in Europe that they feel that they have to go into an unfair competition. European markets are as we heard before, and plus there is a language barrier, there are regulatory barriers, and at the same time they have to compete, for example, with their US counterparts, where they have access to plenty of finance, they have one common market in terms of language and more or less in terms of regulations. How can they survive? How can they compete? What was your experience about that?
Thanks for the question. Well, firstly, it's not only about the language barrier, it's about the culture and mentality. And to answer this question, let me tell you a short story from the past week. I was having a conf call, well, a meeting, the virtual meeting with one of the biggest corporates in France, with the vice president of that company. And we agreed that the event will take place at 2 p.m. And I joined, and I waited for a couple of minutes, then 5 minutes, then 8 minutes, and then called him. And he said, like, he's joining in a minute. And once he joined, he started the conversation by saying, listen, I'm French, and we are okay by, getting late after 10 minutes. So all is fine. The event and the meeting take place, and we agreed on certain things. And then we needed to schedule another meeting in a week. And he proposed me to do the same time at 2. And I said, okay, so should I join like 10 minutes past 2 or what? And he said, no, the meeting is at 2, but I will be late. So for us as the more Northeast Europe people, that is so strange, but for the Southern, it's okay. So the example just, pictures the fact that the language is one thing, but different cultures and activities, how we are coordinating the activities is different. But and this is an issue, and yes, but I wouldn't complain that we are, suffering unfair competition globally. I mean, worldwide. Take the States, take the Australia or Southeast Asia, because if you look at the numbers, the last year the investments in the agri-food tech increased 70% comparably with 2018. So funds, even though the funds from the States, the Silicon Valley, they started to look into the Europe. And I think what everyone today will agree who is listening to me is that what we Europeans are good at is to make the food. So my idea is that if we will focus on kind of depersonalized solutions, products like novel foods, alternative protein, biotechnologies, these things which could be reusable as the components or the products, despite the fact of the language barrier and despite the fact about the culture, and could be even exported into the another regions, that would be our strong part. So I think we don't need to focus on small stakeholders in every single country. Because for them, as for example, precision farming tool developers, it will be super complicated. For example, to go from Poland to Portugal, it will not work. And as we see this year, for example, the same Agrivi, which is precision farming management tool, right? They raised more than 5 million euro to expand the markets in the Europe. So I think what we will see on 2021 is that it will be kind of globalizing, and players who already have certain amount of market, they will become bigger. The funds will start to do the mega rounds, as it's called right now. So mega round is like a little bit more than 100 million of investment into the company. And we'll see very few players left in the market, but they will have the resources and possibilities to be in the market, in scattered market of the European Union. But the generic technologies and generic products which we could export elsewhere, this is our value and strength. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Now, as a Southerner, I will try to keep time. So I would like to have one last comment from each one of you, but I will kindly ask you not to take more than 1 minute to tell me, what do you think that will be the biggest challenge in the upcoming years? What makes you excited about? What will be the challenges to solve? And let me start from the normal order. So, Professor Miceikienė, the floor is yours. 1 minute to tell us what you expect to be the biggest challenge in the future.
Digitalization of agriculture is redefining agricultural products business management. The fintech products, cost management technologies, farm management services models, other innovative agribusiness management solutions are being developed. The business management technologies for sensor-assisted collection of data necessary for farm management have already been offered of the market. The concept of sharing economy for more efficient use of the agriculture production machinery has been developing rapidly. I think innovative technologies in agriculture will change agriculture. And I believe in modern digital agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Janulevičius, what makes you excited about technologies for the upcoming years?
Okay, I will try to be as short as possible, but it's not easy, you know. I think my side view, I'm really not so deep specialist on agri-food. I think the biggest challenges will be to reduce consumption of the fertilizers. If you want to keep the productivity, and you know, especially in our region, without fertilizers, I think our results will be twice lower. And to reduce the quantity of fertilizers in the future, requirements of the European Commission, and of course requirement from the people, because every year in Europe Union dies around 400,000 people from the CO2 emissions, and of course agriculture doing this. This is my side view things where it could be the challenges to reduce the quantity on the fertilizers. And another second, it's from the energy sector, and I think as we talked about, the farmers more and more will be the energy producers, green energy producers. It's very important for us to find the possibility to connect them to the grid, electricity grid, maybe gas grid, to another possibilities how to collect this green energy, green gases, green electricity, and bring to the grid what everybody could share that, because it's a very balanced market. This is two challenges by my view.
Thank you very much. Thank you. George, how do you see things? What makes you excited?
I think we all have in agriculture and agri-food, we all have the same challenge to feed the world in a sustainable way. I'm a strong believer that this challenge should be done by using knowledge. And knowledge, I'm coming from the academics. I know that there's a lot of knowledge already available. It's just on the shelf. And our biggest challenge, at least for me, is how to transfer all this knowledge into innovations. That's that would really help in meeting this main objective. And what I see is that this transfer of knowledge into innovation, it's not only a technology thing, but we also need to consider to think about new business models in which we include also the externalities, like the environment and all the other societal issues. Making the knowledge that is available work and contribute to the challenges. That's my main challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, last but not least, the final word. What keeps you awake? What do you dream and plan for the next 10 years? Augustus.
Well, Grigoris, if you're asking what I'm dreaming of, 1 minute will not be enough. But if to try to keep it short, I would say that COVID-19 crisis and 2020, the year of the corona, forced us to start to use seriously digital tools, whether we want it or not. So I think now the fast track for the digitalization of different industries is enabled. And I think that first societal challenging, not technical challenging, is that we need to start collaborating much faster in between cross disciplines, in between cross sectorial way, so we would be able to disrupt the market. And I think that it was reality before, it will change to the luxury. For example, I think that in the future, the apple which is grown on a tree will be luxury good instead of that it's normal and traditional agriculture at the moment. So everything will disrupt. The main thing is to keep all of us together, to foresee and to become more innovate and more stronger. I think this is the most important thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I think that I'm almost in time. I'm 2 minutes late to deliver back the plan. I catch up a little bit stereotype of Southern Moderator. The only thing I would like to say as a last remark, after thanking all the panelists, is that technology helps us today to have all the positive energy and all the dynamic discussion. Of course, the human side of communication might be not at the same level as if we were in Lithuania, but really hope for the good times, and I hope that next year I will see you all in Lithuania. Thank you so much. Ruslanas, the floor back to you, the camera on you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.